Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt lost or stuck in your journey of mastering green buildings? Well, don't worry, because almost everyone who gets started feels lost and stuck at some point, including myself. In fact, 15 years ago when I started, it was a complete unknown terrain for me. So if I would have to go back today and master green buildings from scratch, these are the 5 steps that I would take to master green buildings as fast as possible. So today I want to go through these 5 steps to help you guys to master it as fast as possible, and so you don't have to avoid figuring it out on your own. So let's get started. Number 1, and I put this as number 1 because this is based on changing your mind state. And everything starts in your mind. You need to unlearn. If you come from conventional construction, like I did, you need to unlearn pretty much everything you learned about buildings. I come from working on some of the biggest construction projects in the world, being behind the architecture and the engineering of them. And conventional buildings are pretty much just fighting water, sun, soil. And with this mind state, you will constantly get stuck in your process of designing these green buildings. So what I recommend is that you really learn the basics of how green buildings can work with the elements of the natural world instead of fighting them. And this is exactly in the academy program, this is the first thing that you get to learn, is the fundamentals of how green buildings are designed to be able to heat and cool themselves naturally by using the sun, by using physics, by using biology, and not fight the elements of nature. And once you really understand those basics, which are not rocket science, you don't have to be an architect or engineer to even understand this. This is really common sense. And we will teach you that by showing you real-world project and how we achieved all of that. So you'll learn the entire design principles. And we go basically deep into every subject, such as water, heating, cooling, wastewater, and we really break it down. So that's number 1, is basically to unlearn how conventional buildings are designed and built and learn the basics of green buildings. Once you master that, once you learn about that, you can proceed to number 2, which is focus on execution. See, the problem I see is that many times when people get started with green building, there's all this passion, there's all this hype, there's so much exhibition to go to. You can go to green building exhibitions, you can go to green cities exhibitions, there's conferences, there's so much hype around this topic. And it's very easy to get sucked into that and basically get involved in a network of people that talk much more about green buildings and green cities than actually executing something. So you might think right now, well, Moin, I've never executed anything. How can I actually do something? Well, that's because maybe you're thinking too big. You know, you need to understand that there's a progress behind mastering green buildings. You cannot just start, doing a 100 square meter building right away. You need to start small. You need to do maybe a green wall of 4 or 5 square meters. That's it. Just to do something, and then use that experience to scale it to 10 or 20 square meter of green building or green roof, whatever you got started with. So don't get sucked into all this hype about green buildings and green cities. Instead, focus on finding opportunities where you can execute. And if you're not a builder yourself, you can always find people who are builders and you can join forces with them to get started. And don't try to go big right away. Just do something small. If you're an architect, if you're an engineer, and you have a project, try to, in a corner of your project, squeeze in some aspect of the green building, just so you get started. So that's the most important thing. It's execution. Don't get sucked into all these hype about sustainability and whatnot. Just focused on pure execution. That is where the most important knowledge comes from. So if you want to play the long-term game, you need to focus on execution. So with time, as you're adding more and more projects on your belt, you're basically getting a better and better understanding of how these systems are designed and how to execute them. So now you become ready to think more in scale. And so in order to go into scale, you need to really have a good understanding of your climate, right? So every climate has its own conditions. Not everything that we do in Spain, for example, will work in the Caribbean. It has different conditions, but the concepts behind it is the same, but how we adapt it to different climates is different. So you need to really start in the projects that you are, and this is where you learn it, in execution. This is where you see what plants really work in your climate and what plants doesn't work. So that's why I want you to focus on execution, because the more of it you do, the better you understand how it works in your own climate. And once you have a good understanding of how to adapt this solution to your specific climate, now you're ready to actually think even bigger. And that is to actually make a proper business out of this. And for doing that, you need to learn how to sell. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. This is way harder than to actually building these solutions. Because honestly, once you start building them, you will understand that this is not complicated. See, you have to understand that the natural world has been here for billions of years. It's the only system that is proven to work long term. Everything else that we humans build has a lifespan. Eventually, it wears out and it breaks. From conventional air conditioning system, heating system, whatever. So, building with nature is actually easy once you really understand it. Once you understand how to set the right conditions, then you will see that building it is not that difficult. So once you get ready to start selling these, you have to start tackling whole other aspects of it. And I see a lot of people getting stuck here, including myself. I was stuck here at point 4 for a long time. And it took me a very long time to really understand how to sell this, because my approach was completely wrong. I was trying to convince every single one to make green buildings. And in the end, I just realized that's not how it works. It's the wrong approach. So instead, I started focusing on people who already have this awareness and have these values. And there are a lot of clients actually that have these values. So instead of going to an ocean, I went to a lake. And it became much easier because now I was speaking to people who actually was already aware about why this is important. And the second thing I learned, that inside of that lake, they are clients who these solutions really, really make sense to for their projects. And there's other clients where this solution does not make a big change in the financial aspect. So I quickly learned to separate between what projects I can add financial value to and what project basically financially we're not doing much savings. In fact, many times we may end up adding more cost to the project, and no one wants that. So I quickly learned how to filter clients in a way by looking at their project, by making a quick study and see, okay, I can see that you are paying this much for water, and by implementing a simple biological water treatment system for you, I can basically reduce 100% of your yearly cost, and you will pay back this system in 3 years. And that became a game changer for me, because that was when I was really started to sell this solution at scale. So this is something that we constantly talk about and go through in our monthly sessions. Because in our monthly sessions in the academy, we constantly share our latest projects. We talk about how we close those clients, what aspect of it was the key aspect for us to close those projects. So selling it is actually a big part of the academy program, and a big part, if you want to master it, you just have to learn how to sell it. And number 5 is the one step that will set you apart from everyone else. And that is that you become so good at green buildings that you own this skill in your local community. Because the more projects you do in your own local community, in your own city, the more unique you become. There's almost no one else that will be able to beat you in designing and building green buildings, because you've done so many of them in your own climate that you have a great data input of what works and what doesn't work. So in order to owning it, you should stay focused in your own local environment. Because when I get started, I was doing projects all over the world, from Africa to North America, South America, Asia, Europe, and every single climate was different. So I had to always figure out from start, what plants to use for the treatment system and how the sun works, the different angles of the sun. There's a lot to relearn in every climate. So if you really want to master it, you should just keep repeating doing projects in your own community. That is the way you will own this skill. That is the way you will become the master of green buildings in your own city. So our academy program is exactly built on walk you through through these 5 steps. So to learn the fundamentals, we have to teach you the basics. And we do that through recorded classes where you can walk through all the 8 modules that we have and learn about the different systems. And then there we also walk you through the real world executions that we've done, what worked and what didn't work. So you make sure you don't do the mistakes that we did. This will help you to save yourself a lot of time. And as well, in our monthly live sessions, we also always show you the latest projects we're working on and the challenges of those projects and the solutions that really worked well for those projects. And we also talk about the different climates. You will see this in the academy as well. We show you real world projects that we've done in different climates and how we solved it. How did we do it in extreme cold? How did we do it in extreme heat? And how we also do it in mild climates. And then in the monthly sessions, as I mentioned, we talk a lot about how to sell it. So many times people actually bring their own challenges with their clients and whatnot, and we walk you through how we would do it in order to close the deals. And the last one, owning the skill, is when you get started in your own community. And here you will completely have our support. So we have many students around the world right now executing projects in their own community in the city, and we're constantly supporting them and making sure that their projects is being designed correctly and executed correctly. So you are not just joining an educational program. You know, you're joining a community of people who have already mastered green buildings, people who are just getting started, and people who are somewhere in this process of learning. So together, we are helping each other and supporting each other to make sure that we're all growing and mastering green buildings constantly. So if you want to master green buildings as fast as possible, then don't wait, because the more you wait, the more you lose opportunities of building. Because once again, if you want to master green buildings, you have to execute. So the faster you start learning the basics, the faster you can get into executing them. And the faster you can come and learn all the other aspect that is important for you to come to a point where you can become the master green builder in your own local city. And this is the reason why the academy exists, because myself had to go the hard way. You know, I had to do so many mistakes until I actually learned what works. And this cost me a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of headache with clients. And I would like for you to avoid that, because I would like you to master green buildings as fast as possible, because my mission in my life is to help as many people as possible to master how to build green buildings. Because if we want to have a big impact, we need to get more people mastering these skills. So for the past 15 years, I've been working on building the infrastructure for the next generation coming behind us to make it much more easier for them to get started. So basically, we have compressed 15 years of knowledge into this program to help you get started as fast as possible and to master green buildings as fast as possible. So if you're interested, if you are lost, if you are stuck somewhere in this process, just join this community, and I promise you that you will speed up your journey and become the master green builder that you always dreamed of as fast as possible. I look forward to see you in the academy.